Some officials in Boston want shoppers to start packing their groceries in reusable bags. The goal is to have less recycling that's clogged by plastic bags. Instead, customers could reuse their own bags or pay for bags that can be reused, recycled, or composted. Our guest is one of the sponsors of the measure, the District City Councilor for Jamaica Plain in West Roxbury, Matt O'Malley. Thank you very much for being with us, Councilor.
Always great to be with you, Chris.
First of all, I mean, it looks, it's almost, this is a small thing, but I guess it's bigger than it might appear, so explain that.
It can have an absolutely profound impact, and we have seen plastic bag ordinances across the Commonwealth, across the country, indeed across the world. Ireland, I think, was the first major country to put in a bag ordinance. They passed in 2002. They have seen a 94% drop in single-use plastic bags. It has had a tremendous effect, positive effect on the environment. So what I'm hoping we're able to do here, I've been working closely with Council President Michelle Wu. We convened a plastic bag ordinance working group this summer. We had 3 very well publicized and well attended public meetings. I talked with opinion makers and public officials in different cities around the country to just figure out what the best approach would be. And I believe what we have done here is crafted the best, most responsible plastic bag ordinance in the country. It's obviously great for the environment. These plastic bags are a scourge that we see everywhere. They clog storm drains. They end up in the harbor. You see them in trees, get caught in the trees. So it would address that. It would not negatively impact small businesses, because in our proposal, the 5-cent fee per thicker and paper bag or compostable bag would go back to the store owner. And thirdly, it incentivizes stores to, because they're keeping that nickel, give a 5-cent refund per bag when an individual brings a reusable bag. This is something that many stores, Roach Brothers, Whole Foods to name 2, already do. So I reject the notion that this is seen as penalizing constituents. I think it actually provides an incredible environmental benefit, while can also benefit a consumer who brings his or her reusable bag.
Well, many of us are used to in Boston, as you go to a supermarket, you get things in these plastic bags and you see this recycling symbol on it, so you might think, oh, I can recycle that. You put it in the blue box. Now, what happens next when this goes to some kind of a recycling facility?
96% of plastic bags are not recycled. We do not accept them in our single stream recycling, although many people think we do. And Casella, who runs our recycling plant, our contractor that does our single stream recycling, has to deal with 20 tons per month of these plastic bags in residential waste stream, not commercial, just simply residential, 20 tons per month. And we know how flimsy those bags can be. So I would argue that what we're doing right now isn't financially responsible, because we're paying more costs associated with our recycling, with our single stream, with Casella, to spend hours upon hours every day to remove these plastic bags from their equipment. These things aren't biodegradable. Some stores do have a plastic bag recycle bin in their lobby, for example, but again, we're seeing 94% of these plastic bags aren't recycled, and they end up as litter, as blight in the neighborhoods. We're
talking with City Councilor Matt O'Malley. Now, of course, there has been some resistance to this, and I think that there's a retail group that says, well, you're just taxing consumers. Isn't there another way to do this?
So it's not a tax. I will concede the point. It is a fee. It's a 5-cent fee, but it's not mandatory. And again, what our bill encourages the store owner to do is to refund a nickel if someone brings a reusable bag. I've met and talked to people. We had a very ecumenical process, talked to many leaders of the Retailers Association, for example, who suggested that this is going to hurt small businesses and people are going to do more shopping online. I think that is a complete false argument and a red herring for a number of reasons, not the least of which is I can't imagine that someone would pay $5 or $10 or $15 shipping and handling to get out of paying for a 5-cent bag. There's no question that more and more consumers are doing online shopping, and I'm sensitive to that fact. But there is no conclusive evidence, not one iota, for the 42 towns and cities around the Commonwealth, just to name one state, that have implemented some sort of a bag ordinance that they've seen a drop in business. It's just not true.
I don't do much online shopping, especially for food, but I have these grubby old canvas bags I've been using for years. I got used to it.
Yeah. People will, the example I use is sort of those larger warehouse type stores, BJ's, Costco. I can remember vividly going with my parents as probably 20 years ago, expecting bags because that's what we're used to, not seeing them. It was a slight annoyance the first time, and then you get used to it. The other construct that I think is important to note here is that the plastic bag as we know it is a relatively new invention. There weren't many plastic bags around in the 1970s and before that. So it's easy to do. People have used reusable bags. We're seeing more people do that, but what this bill will do will be to encourage and both promote a financial incentive for someone to use a reusable bag, and it's good for the environment. The positive impacts of this bill, we could spend all newscast talking about, and we've also seen how it has worked enormously well, not only in Ireland. California just had a referendum that's going to be statewide. LA, San Francisco before that, New York City, Chicago. As I said, 42 cities and towns throughout the Commonwealth. So many cities and towns are doing it. We know it can, there'll be some resistance initially, but the benefits more than make up for it, and it's a good policy and the right thing to do.
I want to ask you about one other local issue with an environmental dimension. That's the new high-capacity gas line going through West Roxbury. Spectra Energy just finished building it. And safety concerns, I guess that's the thing that's driving you in this.
Without question. Not only safety concerns, but it has been offensive the way FERC and the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, who has given the green light for this project, as well as Spectra, as well as National Grid, quite frankly, the disdain that they have treated our neighborhood over this issue. Chris, you and I first talked about this probably 2 years ago on this very set. We met with folks. This was never a NIMBY issue. We simply said that route doesn't make sense. Consider alternative routes. The transfer meter and regulating station appears directly across the street from the only active quarry in Boston.
A quarry with blasting.
With blasting, 50 blasts, 50 major blasts or more a year. It is dangerous. There's a potential, I think, for some mistake that could have really catastrophic effects. We finally had a public safety meeting, and I'm using air quotes because it was basically a check of a box from Spectra. They couldn't answer basic questions. I'm proud to say that working alongside Mayor Walsh, Congressman Lynch, Representative Ed Coppinger, State Senator Mike Rush, and my colleagues on the council, we have filed suit in federal DC Court of Appeal. We're hopeful to have a date scheduled in early 2017, and it should take anywhere from 4 to 6 months before a verdict is rendered, and I'm hopeful that cooler heads will prevail at the judicial system. This pipeline at the location makes no sense. It presents a real danger. Now, FERC has given the go-ahead for the gas to start running, but Grid has not yet decided when they're going to make the pipeline operational. It could be any day now, but there is an opportunity, and I'm hopeful that through the judicial system will be able to overturn the really foolish decision by FERC.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Always great to be with you, Chris.